I want to tell you the story of how learning one skill completely changed my life. And this is not some motivation bullshit. This is something that genuinely and truly changed my life. Where I live, what I drive, what I can access, what doors are open to me right now that were completely closed before. The business that I run, the clients that I help, the money that comes in, all of it. Traceable back to one moment where I decided to actually understand how the credit works. So, I want to be clear about something before I get into this, right? I did not grow up knowing all of this stuff. Nobody sat me down and explained the credit system. Nobody in my family had an 810 credit score and taught me how they got here, you know? I came to America from Saudi Arabia at the age of 18 years old with nothing. No credit history, no financial foundation, no connection, no friends, no nothing, right? So I had to figure all this bullshit by myself from scratch. And the journey from where I was, which at first I didn't have any credit score, and then I had 430 credit score with 2 jobs, and then I couldn't even get my own apartment. I was completely invisible to the entire financial system to where I'm at right now. That journey is what this video is about. Because I think if you hear the real story, not the highlight, the real actual story, you're going to see yourself in some parts of it. And I want you to see what is possible on the other side. So let's get into it. Let me paint the picture of where I actually started, because I think most people hear success stories and they only just get the compressed version. The before was bad, the after is good, and here's the lesson. No, I want to actually give you the detail, the real before. So I'm 18 years old. I just arrived to America, Minnesota. It was during Christmas, which is winter, and I don't fully know English yet. I barely even spoke the language. The first 2 months was really hard because I couldn't even communicate properly. And I'm trying to figure out how this country works, the system, the culture, the way people interact, the financial infrastructure, all of it at the same time while not even being able to speak the language. I'm working 2 jobs, gas station and a tobacco store, not 1, 2 jobs, and still broke. Not broke like I cannot afford something that I want. No, broke like I couldn't even afford the basic things. I couldn't get my own apartment because nobody would approve me living with what? 5, 6 people in the same apartment. Literally 3 people in one room putting money together just to cover rent. When I tried to get a phone plan, I couldn't. They want a deposit because of my credit. I didn't have credit. And I tried to get a car finance, the same thing. The rates they offer me are almost criminal because of my credit. I tried to access like basic things that people who grew up here take it completely for granted. And every door has the same answer, which is no. Or yes, but with a penalty, a deposit, a higher rate, an extra requirement, all because of this thing called credit score that nobody had ever explained to me. And I remember my lowest credit score was what? 430, bro. 430. And I didn't even fully understand what that meant back then, or why it was happening, or why I even had that low of a score. That's where I started. I moved from Minnesota to Arizona, started doing door-to-door solar sales. And while I'm doing solar, I'm watching something happen. People are getting denied for solar panel just because of their credit. Not because they cannot afford the payment, because their credit profile doesn't pass the lender criteria. I'm watching the sales rep around me using their credit cards all the time to survive for months while they were waiting for the commission to come in. And they have access to capital that I didn't have back then. Not because they're making more money than me, because their credit is clean and mine isn't. I remember one time I wanted to get a credit card. I wanted to have the same access that they had, but at first I didn't even have a social security number yet. That is the thing. Later down the road, when I finally got my SSN, the first thing that I did was start learning how the credit actually work, not from a YouTube video or a podcast, from actually studying the system, from reading the actual laws, from the Fair Credit Reporting Act, or the FCRA for the people that don't know, and really understanding what rights I had that nobody had ever told me about. I did something that changed everything. I applied everything that I learned on my own profile. I worked my own file. I sent letters. I fixed the utilization. I addressed the negative marks. I did the actual process. And I literally watched my own credit score move from 430 to 700 plus in what? In about 3 months. And the moment I saw that number, the moment I saw the proof that the system could actually be learned and used, something clicked that has never unclicked ever since. Let me tell you what actually changed when the score crossed 700 plus, because I want you to understand this very good. Not in theory, in my actual life. The first thing is, I got approved for my first real credit card, not a secure credit card bullshit with a 300 limit. No, a real credit card with a real limit. And I remember sitting there looking at the approval and thinking, this is what they've been using the whole time. This is what I couldn't access, and now I have it. Once it clicked, once I saw it with my own eyes, I couldn't unsee it anymore. I started getting pre-approval offers in the mail, not application, pre-approvals, meaning the lenders were coming to me, not me going to them and hoping for the best. The dynamic completely flipped, right? The apartment situation even completely changed. I could get approved for places that I actually wanted to live in instead of whatever would take me in. Even the car situation changed. The rates I was being offered looked nothing like what I was seeing before. And here's the one thing that really got me, right? The business access. It completely opened up for me. The ability to leverage credit as a capital, to use a business credit card with real limits to fund moves or business opportunities that I wanted to do, that I could deploy into something that produces some cash flow. And that opened door that completely changed my financial trajectory entirely, right? Going from a 430 to a 700 plus didn't just improve a number, it changed what I had access to. And access, like I'm talking real access to financial system in this country is everything. It will completely change everything for you. And here's where the story gets super interesting. So when I fixed my own credit, when I went through the process and saw it actually work, I started talking about it. Not to build a business just because I was excited, just because I was 19, 20 years old, and now I had just figured out something that nobody around me knew, and I wanted to share the info, right? So I started posting on social media just out of excitement, just happy about that. Happy about the fact that I know about all of this stuff. This is what I did. The score moved and I showed people what is actually possible. And people started asking me a lot of questions. Not few people, a lot of people. Here's what I realized, right? When they started asking me, none of the people around me, not in my circle, not in my community, had a 700 plus credit score. Not a one person. Nobody had an LLC. Nobody had a credit card with real limits. Nobody had been approved for business funding. This was completely foreign to them, something that they never even heard of for some reason. And suddenly, I was the person who knew how it worked. I'm the credit guy now. Obviously, I started helping people. First for free, 2 people, 3 people, my family, my close friends, and everybody, right? Just to see if I could do it for someone else the way I did it for myself. And guess what? It worked. Then I started charging a little bit, 500 per person. And then it started moving fast. Within weeks, I was making $5, $6, $7, $8,000 a month. Just from knowing something that people around me were desperate and they needed. And they just didn't have access to, right? That's when I understood something that I have carried with me ever since. Information and skills are the most valuable things you can own. It is way more valuable than money, because money comes and goes. But if you have real knowledge, real understanding of a system, you can produce money again and again and again. no matter what happens, no matter how many times you hit zero, the skill comes with it. Do you understand? And the credit repair knowledge was the skill that started everything for me. Let me tell you what the initial 500 per client credit repair operation grew into, because it didn't stay at 500 per client, because I kept learning. I kept going deeper and deeper into the credit system, into the funding world, into how the lenders actually make decisions, into which banks approve which profiles at which stage, into the business credit side, into a lot of different stuff. The net 30 accounts, the business credit cards that report separately from business and personal side, the funding products that becomes available once the personal profile is clean, all that stuff, right? So I got way too deep into all of this. I built relationships inside the banks, not just applying online like most people do, direct relationships with bankers who could actually run the document application and request a specific limit. Because a lot of people don't realize this point is, no matter how good your profile is, when you apply using a website, it is an algorithm. There's a cap to it. Do you understand? So there is no way you will get approved for 200K, 300K purely from a website. You have to know someone inside the bank itself, which is called RM, or relationship manager, right? Who can give you access and leverage over the average person. The business model just started expanding and expanding, right? Credit repair now is just on the front end. Now I have business funding on the back end. Someone comes to me with a damaged credit profile. We clean it for him. We build it, we position it, and then when the profile is ready, we help them access real capital. Business credit card with what? $15,000, $20,000, $25,000 limit at 0% interest. Business lines of credit, 50K, 100K, based on what the profile looks like, business revenue, the banking history, all that stuff, right? And here's the back end that changed everything from my own revenue. When a client get approved for $100,000 in funding through our process, the compensation on that is significant. A 10% of the funded amount. That is $10,000 from one client approval. And we are doing this for multiple clients. From one skill, bro. Imagine one skill learned at 19 years old in a gas station in Minnesota led to all of that. I want to talk about something bigger than just the money for a second, because this is not just about income for me. It never was. I came from a place where nobody around me understood how the American financial system worked. Not my family, not my community, not the people I grew up in Saudi Arabia with, or the people I met when I first arrived in America. The financial system, the credit, the funding, banking, access to capital, is the infrastructure that this country runs on. You need to understand how the game really works. It determines what is possible for you, where you can live, what you can build, what you can pass on. And most people, especially people who look like me, who come from where I come from, never get the playbook. They are playing a game that they don't know the rules to. And they're losing not because they're not smart, not because they're not working hard enough, but because nobody had ever showed them how the system actually works. And that is what I do now. I show people the system. I give them the playbook that nobody gave me, and I watch what happens to their life when they understand it. I've had clients go from 580 to 720 in 90 days, from denied on everything to approved for a home loan, from no business credit to $50,000 in business funding, from feeling like the system is rigged against them. And now they feel like, okay, now they understand. Now they want to play this game. If I could go back to the version of me working 2 jobs in Minnesota, and then from 430 credit score, no apartment, no access, no idea of what I was doing, and tell him one thing, it would be definitely this. The system is learnable. That's it. The system is learnable. It is not complicated once you understand the rules. It is not rigged in a way that you cannot be in the game or navigate it. It is not a mystery that only certain people get to solve. It is a system with rules and rights and a specific processes that produce specific results when followed properly. You're not stuck because you're not smart enough. You're not stuck because you don't work hard enough. You're not stuck because you don't deserve better. You're stuck because nobody explained the rules. And the moment someone explains the rules, the moment you understand how the bureaus work, how the lenders make decisions, how utilization actually gets calculated, how disputes work, how validation letters work, how pay for delete work, how business credit builds separately from the personal credit, everything changes. Not immediately, not without work, but completely. And that is what I really wish someone had told me. And that's why I'm telling you now. The system is learnable. And once you learn it, it works for you instead of against you. Here's the full picture. 18 years old, Saudi Arabia to America, no credit score, then 430 credit score, 2 jobs, couldn't get into an apartment, invisible to the financial system, decided to learn the system, fixed my own profile, went from 430 to 810, got access to everything, built the business around knowledge, helped over 1,000 clients do the same thing, built a funding operation on the back end, created revenue from both the front end credit and the back end funding approvals. All of it from one decision. Do you understand? All of it from one decision to actually learn how the credit system works. Instead of just accepting the system was just going to keep telling me no. You don't have to have my story to use what I learned. You just have to be willing to learn it and apply it. If you are ready to stop accepting the denials and start understanding exactly what needs to change and how, link is in the description. Fill out the form, we're gonna get on a call, we pull the full report, we build the exact plan for your specific profile. The system is learnable.